Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. So it's funny actually, in this week's edition of the Mick Mina Show that I just completed the upload for, I said ignore any rumours you hear about Doctor Who until they're actually clarified by the BBC Doctor Who official Twitter account. But straight after I did that video, I got some emails from my sources who do know a lot about what's going on at the BBC and with Doctor Who. And I don't know whether to believe any of this or not. So we should really start from the beginning, right? I spoke about this on the Mick Mina Show. Basically, there's been these rumours flying about no Doctor Who in 2019. Then at the end of last week, just after Kablam aired, we were hearing rumours of only 6 episodes in 2019. Then Jodie, Whittaker and Chris Chibnal would no longer be involved in Doctor Who. So what's the truth? Well, first of all, let me tell you what I know about the origins of Chris Chibnal being involved with Doctor Who. The BBC were never comfortable about Chibnal. He was Moffat's decision. Yes, the BBC did have to green light it. Of course they did. But it was basically Moffat, like Davies, was told, if you want to leave, you have to find your own replacement. The BBC kind of like this Doctor Who family being involved. Doctor Who fans who are connected to each previous showrunner taking over. They think that's a lot better. And I can understand why they would kind of like that synchronization. But it hasn't really worked out since Davies, has it? So Moffat chose Chibnal, I would suspect, because there was no one else who wanted to take the gig. He didn't really know anyone. He was taking Gatiss with him. Gatiss taking over Doctor Who, well, that would have been met with a ferocity worse than Chris Chibnal. But Chris Chibnal, although his episodes weren't great before he took over, was seen as a capable writer, especially with his previous on Broadchurch. But I did warn when he was announced about the 3rd season of Broadchurch, where he was really going for the rape angle. He was really going for men. And I've said it on one of my videos before. I remember when I think, I forgot her name, the woman who's Tennant's partner, the policewoman in Broadchurch, when she goes into this garage, and she sees some pictures of topless page 3 models, glamour models, and she kind of starts suspecting this guy of the rape that she's investigating, because he's got topless models in his garage. And, when I saw that, I thought, we are in trouble here. We know what this guy's agenda is. So I was very, very, very concerned what was going to happen after and I remember seeing the finale of Broadchurch season 3, and I was furious with what they did. But anyway, moving on from that. So Chibnal was literally Moffat's decision. And again, when we come to Jodie Whittaker, the BBC weren't exactly comfortable about her casting. And that's for many reasons. They didn't like the fact that she didn't have any experience in leading her own show. She's done a lot of acting, but it's all been bit parts. It's been in other people's shows. She's never really been the lead, so she never had the experience. But as I said, I think yesterday, to get experience in life, you've got to give people a chance. And to be fair to Whittaker, she's never been given the material the other actors have to really get her teeth into this role and make it her own. She's never been allowed to kind of make this role her own. It's like the other writers who've written the other episodes. You can tell that half of those episodes that have only got those writers' names on the titles have actually been half ghost-written by Chris Chibnal. It's obvious the way the second half of those episodes go. You'd have to be a blundering idiot not to notice that Chibnal has some involvement in those episodes, because they've been quite dull when we get to the second part, the 3rd act of those episodes. The concepts are great. They start off really well. So obviously the other writers are writing them. It's obvious. So Chibnal is Moffat's decision, and obviously Jodie Whittaker was Chris Chibnal's decision. But the main issue really was BBC America. BBC America, let me give you this angle, right? BBC America actually produce and fund Doctor Who. I think they fund it about 70 or 80%. So the money is American money that funds Doctor Who. They were never overly comfortable with Chibnall or Whittaker, but they went with it because they wanted to listen. Look, Moffat wanted out. He'd been wanting out since season 7, since Matt Smith announced he was leaving. He wasn't really feeling it anymore. From the moment Matt left, Stephen just wasn't particularly feeling Doctor Who anymore, and he knew a lot of the fans didn't like what he was doing, and it was becoming uncomfortable for him. But the BBC insisted that he had to stay, or the show had to be cancelled. We already know when RTD said he was leaving, the BBC straight away said, we're going to can the show. And it was Russell T Davies who fought and said, please don't. I'll give you someone to take over the show. And he kind of, out of desperation, went to Moffat. It's a bit like if you're stuck for company, you start talking to your pet cat. Well, I do anyway. But so it's a blundering situation. So the BBC now are in a situation, this is where these rumours stem from, that BBC America, I don't have pure facts. I can only tell you what other people have told me. And these are the facts. This is what other people have told me. They've told me that Whittaker and Chibnall will return for 6 episodes in 2019. And then that will be that. That will be the end of the Chibnall era of Doctor Who. Now, there's also some things coming out about why Jodie Whittaker might not want to carry on. Apparently, she's a mother, and she's recently become a mother. Apparently, I don't know Jodie Whittaker's personal life, and she doesn't want to be away from her family and her child for so long. But you would have thought all this information would have been there when she accepted the job. That doesn't make sense to me. And apparently, Chibnall doesn't want to make an episode every year. And obviously, BBC America do. Right. Shall I tell you what I think's going on here? I think that actually the BBC are leaking all this stuff because of merchandise sales going down, because of pre-orders going down. But the most important thing and the reason that BBC are having a rethink creatively about Doctor Who and really want to get Whittaker and Chibnall out the door as quickly as possible is the American audience haven't bought Doctor Who Season 11. They haven't enjoyed it. They haven't reacted well. I've seen umpteen videos from Doctor Who fans in America who are not happy. The BBC America ratings are down. When you compare them to Matt Smith's era, which was the most popular era on BBC America, in America, it's so low. And it's not just that, it's the word of mouth. It's what the American fans are saying about Doctor Who now. And it echoes what I say, and a lot of people who are not happy with the show. But in the UK, it's different. In the UK, the mainstream audience have embraced this Doctor, this season 11. But in America, no one's replacing those people who are not watching. And it's America where it's really important for the BBC, because BBC America enjoy kind of the popularity that Doctor Who's had thanks to Stephen Moffat. And really, I mean, the popularity was going down with the Capaldi era as well anyway, but this is an all-time low. So this is why they're probably going to be... So this experiment hasn't worked. That's pretty clear it hasn't worked. Behind the smiles, behind the scenes banter, this really hasn't worked because Chris Chibnall has taken all the fun of Doctor Who. I was actually going to do a video, which I never did, called Manchester United and Doctor Who are the same. And let me explain to you why. Because Jose Mourinho, our manager, has taken the fun out of watching Manchester United. And that's what Chris Chibnall's done as well. What do I think? Well, we're not going to know anything officially till after the New Year's Day episode. It's quite clear that that's what they're talking. That's their PR and marketing department are heading towards the New Year's Day episode and plugging that. So you'll get interviews and stuff. Jodie Whittaker will never be asked by the Doctor Who magazine or anyone else about her future. She's already said, candidly, when asked, she doesn't know beyond this season. And basically, it's interesting because the Christmas episode was always seen as the first episode of the next series, which I always saw it as, and a lot of people saw it as. So it's interesting. But I always said they moved it from Christmas Day to New Year's Day for a reason. They wanted some kind of content, because even if we do get these 6 episodes in 2019, it's not going to be till September. I liked it being on Christmas Day. It was something to look forward to. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just something we got used to. It's a bit of a Doctor Who tradition, a bit like the Only Fools and Horses Christmas special. And if you haven't seen, if you're not from the UK and you've never seen the sitcom Only Fools and Horses, you should. It's awesome. It'll be like Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall trying to decide how to ruin Doctor Who kind of thing, but a lot more fun and a lot more entertaining. So that's what I know so far. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what's true and what's not true, but kind of the facts and figures I have from BBC America's ratings, the reactions in America, the kind of financial side of Doctor, they're not getting back the money they have in the past. And that's because they've pissed off Doctor Who fans. They thought they could swap Doctor Who fans for the mainstream audience, and somehow the mainstream audience, you know, the girls, the kids, the mums and dads would be going out to be buying the merchandise. They'd be pre-ordering the box sets. There has been a financial boycott on Doctor Who. In fact, I have to credit my fellow Doctor Who fans because they haven't necessarily stopped watching the show, but they've stopped putting money into this franchise. And that is how you hurt them. And it will be very interesting when, if this is true, when all this gets announced. But let me be clear here. BBC America are the big bosses of Doctor Who. And if they don't like the way things going, that's it. It's goodbye from Jodie Whittaker, and it's goodbye from Chris Chibnall. And if they do come back only to do 6 episodes, wow. Is anyone even going to bother? Because it's game over. This Doctor's era is pretty much already over. And when you take the fun and entertainment out of something, that's what happens.